healthyamerican.org. And I just did a video for you called Why Am I in Florida? And I should have titled it, Why Am I Not in Florida? Wait, does that make sense? Why Florida? Why not Florida is what I meant to say, because there are so many great things about being here in Florida. So if you're interested in that, be sure that you see that video. And I am going to share with you now some new laws in Florida that took effect in 2025 and why some of them are kind of crazy. And I want to thank everybody for being on board. We had a great live stream, and I'm grateful for those who are joining me live. And if you're watching this as a replay, welcome as well. And I also let you know that I do have a new sponsor for the show, and I'm grateful for my sponsors. I do not earn a penny from YouTube. My videos are not monetized. And many of you are interested in learning about healthy, natural ways to enjoy your life without being dependent on pharmaceutical drugs and so forth. And that's what I wanted to tell you about, especially if you have high blood pressure. In fact, let me just share this with you for a second. I'm not giving you medical advice. I can't give you medical advice on this channel. YouTube will not let me do so. But this is what I'm going to tell you about. The number one worst blood pressure drug is lisinopril. Now, I know we've got at least one pharmacist in our group here, if not more. But what I want to do is share with you information about this book that you can get to learn all about how to control your blood pressure naturally. I will have a link for you in the description box, and that is primal.life/Peggy BP for blood pressure. And basically, if you've been told the only way to control your blood pressure is by taking pills, well, then this message is definitely for you. Luckily, I don't suffer from high blood pressure, but I do know people in my family who did. And so this doctor from Texas discovered something called a salt trick. And in this study, participants used a simple method and saw their numbers drop into a healthy range. And friends, we're being told now that blood pressure, what used to be normal, now we're being told is high. So they keep fiddling with those numbers. You don't want a doctor to put you on medication unnecessarily. So people have been able to reduce their medications with their doctor's approval. So imagine that you could get off those blood pressure drugs and go from the high readings to near perfect blood pressure. You could say goodbye to those prescription drugs that you don't want to be on. And of course, not have to live in fear of constant heart problems. So there was a patient, Dan from Los Angeles, I'm reading, he said that I couldn't believe it. In 1 week, I went from 200 over 100 down to 110 over 71. So maybe it's not you, but maybe you know someone who's struggling with high blood pressure, and you or they want a safe, natural alternative. This could be exactly what you're looking for. Go to myprimal.life/Peggy BP, that's for blood pressure. And then you'll get this information. You can read a nice long website with all the information. You can get a book. There are all sorts of bonuses. So just check it out for yourself. There's also a video to watch. If you don't want to watch the video, you can just get the written form. So check that out. I hope that this will help you normalize your blood pressure without drugs. Friends, we are talking about some crazy laws. Some of them are not so crazy, but they're new laws in Florida. There were probably well over 100 that took effect this past July. And I wanted to share with you some of them that I thought were interesting. And you may have heard from the first one because I did a whole broadcast about this. Florida has banned fluoride in municipal drinking water. So probably you know that it's the cities that oversee drinking water. And the state has now prohibited the municipalities from adding fluoride to the drinking water. I'm applauding that. I don't like fluoride in my drinking water. And oh my gosh, a friend of mine the other day said, oh, I'm smiling weird because I have something on my teeth. I'm like, what's on your teeth? Oh, the doctor did a fluoride treatment. Like, in this day and age, in 2025, adults are getting fluoride treatments? Yeah, no. So, of course, we don't really know if they're going to stop putting the fluoride in the water, but hopefully they are. So that was one law that really made headlines. This one I didn't really hear too much about. So I've got a handful for you here. I'm not going to do all 100. No social media accounts for teens under 14. Isn't that interesting? There has to, so if you're 14 It says parental consent is required for 14 and 15 year olds. I don't know how the state of Florida can regulate that. So I guess on your phone, if you're trying to get onto Facebook or Instagram or whatever the kids are on, um, how does how does your phone know where you? I guess they know where you are geographically. I don't know how Florida can actually enforce that. I need to do a little more digging, but I thought that was interesting. Let me know what you think about that. I think the parents should have consent for all of these things. It's strange that they would need a law for it. Speaking about children, there is a ban on cell phones in public schools for elementary and middle school. Why does an elementary school student have a phone in the first place? I ask. I mean, come on. They're banned. High schoolers can use their phone in class for instructional purposes if it's approved by the teacher. I would like to know how well this law is being carried out and if there are violations or if the kids are just, getting away with it. Elementary school children having phones for emergency uses or something? I don't have a child in elementary school, so you tell me. Homeschooled children, speaking of public school, homeschooled children now have the right to participate in public school athletics. And I think that's really interesting because when I was helping parents keep their children in school and helping them get their children out of school, which was my preference, one of the things that they would say is, Peggy, my children want to play sports. I've got my children in the public school because they want to be on the soccer team or the basketball team or the swim team. And so I would say, well, why not just have your children be on a community league? If you're just keeping your children, if you're putting your children's life at risk by getting them jabbed to stay in school or being exposed, far worse than the jabs is the indoctrination, so they could play sports, certainly there's another way. That's one of my mottos. There's always another way, and I'm going to help you find it. So now these homeschooled children can participate in public school athletics. They just need to register and so forth, and they're not prohibited from playing. So I think that's a step in the right direction. All right, let me know what you think about this next law. The Gulf of Mexico has to be referred to as the Gulf of America in all official documents or references, schools, government documents, and all of that. I think that's really interesting. When I flew out of Florida, the pilot said, and this was right after Trump had come into office and decreed that it would be called the Gulf of America, the pilot came online and said, all right, folks, we are now reaching our elevation and we're making a big turn over the Gulf of America. And I looked at the couple of people sitting next to me. We both looked at each other, kind of raised our eyebrows. Nobody made a comment other than a facial expression. So I thought that was really interesting. Let me know what you think about that. This one in particular, this next law, I'm really happy about. And I think everyone who lives in an HOA, which is the Homeowners Association, there's different names for that in different parts of the country, I realized, but normally it's called HOA. They're your little government in your community. And there's pros and cons, a lot of cons. And now, because so many communities in Florida are run by HOAs, and did you know, just as an aside, property managers, not HOAs, but property managers that the HOAs hire, they have to be licensed in the state of Florida. I don't think you have to be licensed in California to be a property manager. Anybody can have that job. But in Florida, you have to take classes, pass an exam, and be licensed. I think that's really interesting. So the HOA rules can no longer enforce fines, like punitive fines, on people leaving their garbage cans out. And I think that it's 48 hours. So, for example, where I am, people will often put their garbage can out the night before because you don't know what time the garbage truck is coming by and you don't want to miss it. If you sleep in or you have a class to go to or whatever, and you're like, oh, I forgot to put the trash out. If you put it out the night before, the HOA would send you a nastygram. And if you did it more than once, they would fine you. And homeowners are like, you got to be kidding me. We're responsible. We're not letting garbage cans sit out there days on end. So now the new law says that your HOA, it can have a rule, it can still have a rule that says you can only put your trash out in the morning and you have to put it away before the day's over, but they can't enforce it through a fine. So I think that's really interesting. So I've noticed in my neighborhood, people putting out their trash cans the night before. And you know what? It's the night, everybody's in bed. But I think it's because they didn't want animals going through the trash or something. So that's one. Here's the next one. Holiday decor. Apparently, some people like to put up their holiday decorations early and leave them up for weeks. You know what? Live and let live, as far as I'm concerned, as long as there's not a lot of music or noise or, you know, smells or something. But if you have some lights around your house, I don't really care. It's your house. Put the lights up. So now you can leave your decorations out. You still have to follow the HOA rules, but they can't fine you. I think it's within a few weeks of the deadline. I don't have all the details, but I need to dig into that a little bit more. This one was huge as well. Where we live, it was against the HOA rules to have a pickup truck. You could not park that in the driveway. You could park it in your garage. And if you had a pickup truck, you had to put a cover over it, not just a cover, but you had to put a cab. Now, for me, I think you may have a different view on this, but I don't think there's anything wrong with pickup trucks. I think they look fine. In fact, in some ways, I think they look even better without that extra cab, because sometimes it doesn't match the body of the pickup truck. Like you had to buy one and put it on there. It's like, what's going on in there? What have you got in there? Whereas an open up pickup truck, yeah, you just put the bikes in there, the surfboards, whatever, pick stuff up at Home Depot or whatever. Now you can do that. Now you can have an uncovered truck bed, and you can have your own vehicle. If you own a business like a pool cleaning business or something, you can park that in the driveway. Whereas before, they didn't allow you to have any truck in your driveway that had the name of a business on it. That's the downside in Florida. So I did a whole video just a few minutes ago about the pros and cons of Florida, a lot of pros. Okay, the other thing that I think is amazing is the HOAs can no longer fine you for doing something in your backyard that is not visible, or on your patio that is not visible from the street or from other common areas. So for example, vegetable gardens. Some HOAs, including the one I'm in, they don't allow you to have a vegetable garden. I thought it was mainly because it attracts deer and rabbits and all of that. I don't know why that's a problem. But now, as long as it's not visible from the street or from the common area, you can have one and you can't be fined. And you can also put up different structures like like a bird bath or something. And you don't need to have your HOA approval because it's not visible from the street. So there are a lot more HOA rules that were modified this year, also related to how much money the HOA has to have in reserves, how they can borrow money to get repairs done, and so forth. So I thought that was fascinating because in Florida, people love to hate the HOAs, and I understand that. All right, a couple more here for you. There was another law passed in Florida called the Boater Freedom Act. Florida is the boating capital of the world, it seems like, certainly the United States, and the fishing capital of the United States. It seems like everybody loves to go out fishing on their boats or go out drinking on their boats. And it used to be that law enforcement could board any vessel they wanted to at any time. Now, you may say, oh, I think that's a good thing because you need to be safe. We don't want to have boating accidents. Well, there's a new law that law enforcement can still board the vessel, but they have to have probable cause. Hey, let's pass this law at the airport that they have to have probable cause to search you instead of just you wanting to fly on a plane. It's probable cause that you're a terrorist. Ridiculous. All right, speeding laws. This one was really well received in Florida. If you drive 50 miles over the speed limit, or you just drive 100 miles an hour. So let's say in Florida, there might be a 70-mile-an-hour speed limit area. If you drive 100 miles an hour anywhere or over 50 miles over the speed limit, it's a felony and you go to prison. I like that law. I didn't talk about the Florida drivers on my previous show. You know, I've learned how to deal with them. I don't think they're the craziest. They are pretty crazy, but I'm from California, so I don't see anybody that tops that. And I would say the roads where I am in Florida are very good, whereas the roads in California with the highest road taxes in the entire country has the worst roads. They don't even put the money into the roads. I mean, it's horrible, the roads in California. All right. This one, animal cruelty laws. So that has been improved. Last year, there was a dog called, well, they named him Trooper. He was abandoned during Hurricane Milton. And you can do a Google search on it, or Giggle as I call it. You can do an internet search and you can see this video of a state trooper finding this poor dog tied to a fence post as the flood waters are rising in the middle of a hurricane. And he goes and he rescues this dog. They named him Trooper. He got a great home. And they created a new law called Trooper's Law. And it is, it's animal cruelty if you abandon a dog during a natural disaster. And so that was called Trooper's Law. And now there's another law called Dexter's Law, and that establishes, and I think this is fantastic, a statewide animal abuser registry. So if you are convicted of animal cruelty, of animal abuse, your name goes on this list. It's probably the only list I'm in favor of, that and child abuse. And then people would know where you live. And so you would never be able to, they will never have another animal, at least, you know, gotten through by regular means. Of course, hopefully they're going to pay by going to prison. So in Florida, intentionally harming or neglecting an animal for aggravated cruelty is a 5-year prison sentence and a $10,000 fine, as it should be. And that is called aggravated cruelty. Now, I don't, just like with child abuse, I have to have compassionate boundaries for myself. And there are certain things that I cannot look at, that I cannot talk about, that I cannot research, because I am not able to do so in terms of, it's too much for me. So I don't do that. And I don't do it when it comes to animals either. So I don't know exactly what the misdemeanors are regarding animal abuse or cruelty, and I don't know what the felony ones are. I think they should all be felonies. In fact, I think the abuser should suffer exactly what was inflicted upon the animal. Oh, is that not very Christian of me? Take it up with God. Just saying. Okay, anti-squatting laws. Immediate removal of squatters on your property. Plus, there are stronger criminal penalties. Unlike California, where everything is in favor of the squatters, right? It's ridiculous. It's like whatever's going on in California, it's the exact opposite of what's going on in Florida. And then, of course, there was a law, as I mentioned in my previous video, about geoengineering ban. And of course, that could be used against us. So we do want to be on guard. But I will just read you what the bill says. This law prohibits geoengineering and weather modification activities and provides such activities are a third-degree felony, punishable by up to 5 years in prison and fines up to $100,000. So all funds collected go into the Air Pollution Control Trust Fund. And it also created the Department of Environmental Protection. Well, it didn't create that, but it created a protocol by which you can put in your complaints when you can report the suspected geoengineering and the spraying in the skies. And those reports have to be investigated. So you could do them anonymously. And I think that's a step in the right direction. I am losing my voice, friends. This is my third video. I had so much that I want to share with you today. And the last one that I want to end on, it is Florida. The Holocaust Remembrance Day now is required by law. Every January 27th will be proclaimed Holocaust Remembrance Day. The day is going to be observed in public schools, and there will be specific instruction to include both the negative impacts of the Holocaust and anti-Semitism, as well as the positive contributions of the Jewish community as required by law. Let me know what you think about that, friends. You probably know what I think about that. On that happy note, we're going to wrap up this broadcast. I'm so grateful for you. I'll take a quick peek at your comments. All right. Calico likes that squatter law. And Swiss says, I think graffiti should be outlawed and punish the people doing it. You know, want to talk about gaslighting? I have a friend who went to Paris recently, and she's left-minded. All right. She, did all the stuff that people do. And she sent some photos, and I'm like, what do you think about all this graffiti? She said, oh, it's street art. They don't clean it up off the Paris buildings because they'll just come and do it again the following day. So they're celebrating it as street art. Talk about gaslighting. That's something I love about Florida. I have not seen graffiti here, really. Certainly not like in California. In California, it's getting worse and worse because worst is worse than worse. Viva Cristo Rey says, moving toward the Noahide laws. I have not covered that on this channel. You've asked me to do so, so I think I need to put that on my list. Friends, I have, can you see all these are my video ideas? I have books full of video ideas. I'm never running out of video ideas. It's just a matter of when I can run them. So Lucky says they want to focus on the negative and keep it going for generations. That is so true. And that's what I've been pointing out about the Charlie Kirk incident as well. And there are so many interesting parallels with what was going on in Germany in terms of starting these student groups at universities. And like what Charlie was doing, it's kind of creepy. This is not, YouTube will not let me speak about this without taking my videos down. Perhaps one day in a private webinar, we will talk about the truth of the matter in terms of what we were told happened in World War II and what happened in World War II. In fact, why these wars even begin are certainly not the way we were told. So that's about all I can say about that here. Just want to let you know that I am onto it. Okay, I'll leave it that way. So thank you so much. Bub's cat says, Peggy, you're the best, solid, rational, vintage human. Thank you for everything you put forth. I like being vintage. Yes, I like being an elder. I am. I think it's awesome. I've had many decades of life, and I keep learning with each year. I'm grateful for every year that goes by, and I really appreciate that comment. Thank you, everybody, for being on board. I'm going to sign off now, rest my voice. I'll be back with you tomorrow. I'm going to have a bonus video for you Saturday, and we've got our live webinar on Saturday. So I'll wrap up now. You know you can find me over at peggyhall.substack.com. And I did make a comment in a previous video. I'll have to keep repeating it. If you want to subscribe to the Substack, it's probably better if you just send me a check in the mail. I will put you on as a paid subscriber. You'll be added to our private webinars. I don't want to give money to Substack and Stripe. And I've heard so many people tell me that like Visa blocked payments going to Substack to certain creators like myself. Like, I'm not even getting that money in some cases, which is so sad for those of you that are supporting me, because they're blocking those payments. So I don't like to deal with any of that digital stuff. If you want to send me a check or cash, I'm so grateful. It helps me do what I do. And you know what? You can send me just a card of words of encouragement and prayers without any cash. I love that. And I love your prayers and all of your comments here. If you don't have a penny, do not send me a penny. I do not want you to send me any money. Please do not do so. The Lord will provide. He always has. And this is I am so blessed. And I'm blessed being in Florida. I'm blessed being here with you as healthy Americans. And I pray that you will experience blessings in your life, and you let those blessings work in your life. and use those blessings to bless others. That's how it all works. That's how I've experienced it. So thank you, everybody, for being a blessing in my life. And I'll see you